Do you learn English by watching movies? In this English video, I'm going to tell you about 20 movies that I would recommend to English learners that want to speak like an American English speaker. I'm going to start with 8 movies for intermediate to beginner type of English learners, and then I'm going to move on to 12 that are for advanced English learners. I love all of the movies on this list, and I think that many of you probably haven't seen many of these. So let's get right into the list. The first movie on this list is the 2005 comedy Kicking and Screaming. This is a very funny Will Ferrell movie. This movie is made for kids, but I would definitely say a lot of adults really enjoy this movie, including myself. It's really funny because Will Ferrell is the dad in this movie, and he becomes very serious about soccer. And he doesn't know anything at the beginning of the movie, and then he starts to take it so serious and become very competitive, and the movie will make you laugh. Definitely check out Kicking and Screaming. If you haven't seen this next movie on the list, you have to go see it. The movie is Mean Girls. This movie was made in 2004. And when I was in high school, I would watch this movie so many times. There are so many interesting little funny parts of this movie that when you watch it again and again, you pick up or you notice the jokes in the movie. If you're a fan of Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, they are hilarious. Tina Fey is in this movie and she actually wrote this movie as well. And Amy Poehler, of course, plays the cool mom as well in this movie. So check out Mean Girls starring Lindsay Lohan. An interesting American holiday is the title of this next movie on the list. Groundhog Day. So on Groundhog Day in the United States, it's this odd tradition that we have where we have this big celebration around this groundhog. And they come out and if they see their shadow, supposedly there will be 6 more weeks of winter. Otherwise, if they don't see the shadow, winter will be shorter. I don't even quite understand the holiday, but this movie starring Bill Murray was made in 1993, and it follows Bill Murray waking up and having the same day over and over and over again. And Bill Murray is hilarious. He was one of the funniest actors in the 80s and the 90s in the United States. So you have to watch this classic movie as well. And I definitely think you'll be able to pick up some interesting English vocabulary from this one. If you are an animal lover, you will really like this movie on the list. It's called A Dog's Purpose. But I do warn you, like many dog movies, it is very sad at the end. This movie was made in 2017 and it follows the life of a dog named Bailey. And it shows you, just the life of the dog and the family that it joins, and how purposeful the dog's life is. Number 5 is another American classic movie that if you haven't seen, you need to check out. The movie is Big, and it stars Tom Hanks. So this movie was made in 1988, so it was before Tom Hanks was so famous. He was just starting to become famous, and he's much younger in this movie. And this movie is about a boy wishing to become big or an adult, and overnight he becomes an adult, but he's like a child trapped in an adult's body. And you can only imagine what a child would do if they had the powers of an adult. Number 6 is School of Rock. Now, I'm a huge Jack Black fan, and I'm a huge fan of this movie as well. It's probably one of my favorite movies because the humor in it is so funny, but it's pretty innocent of a movie. You can watch it with a little bit of older children. And it stars Jack Black. He goes to an American prep school, which is a very fancy private school, and he pretends to be the substitute teacher, but he really just teaches the kids about rock and roll, and they play in a big band in their classroom. And of course, it's just a hilarious movie. Number 7 on this list I had to include because it is my kids' favorite movie to watch right now, and I even enjoy it as well. If you haven't already, make sure to watch this movie in English. It's the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And of course, it's a cartoon, but it has the voice of Chris Pratt, Jack Black, Charlie Day. It's pretty funny and it's pretty cute. I think that the story of this movie is so simple. My kids love it. So if you're an English learner and you're a little bit intimidated by trying to watch a whole entire movie in English, or maybe you just feel like you can't watch something too complex yet, check out this movie because the dialogue is very easy to follow. Number 8 on this list of movies that I would recommend to you is 50 First Dates. Maybe you've already seen this movie, but I think that you should check it out again. This movie is very rewatchable, which means that you can enjoy it even if you've already seen it before. And again, the dialogue simple enough to understand as an English learner, and you'll probably be able to catch some new vocabulary words as well. 50 First Dates is an Adam Sandler movie, and he falls in love with a girl named Lucy who loses her memory every day. And there are just a lot of funny jokes in the movie about her memory loss and him trying to fall in love with her and make him remember her. Now that we've gone over some movies that I think beginner to intermediate English learners can understand, I'm going to go over some ones that are more advanced. They have more advanced plots, dialogues, and I would recommend if you're feeling a little bit scared about watching these movies because you're like, I don't know if I will understand the whole movie, just turn on the subtitles, read along, and it will help fill in the gaps of what you hear to improve your listening as well. Even I, as an English speaker, a native English speaker, I have to use subtitles sometimes because I just don't quite catch the dialogue when it's so quick in a movie. So definitely don't feel bad or don't feel like you're cheating if you turn on the subtitles. Number 9 is an essential movie that every single American has to watch at some point. It's called The Breakfast Club. This movie is from the 80s. It was directed by John Hughes. He made tons of famous movies at the time. And this movie is very important to a lot of people who live here in the United States. It's very deep. It has a lot of meaning. On my last day of high school, so my last day of public school, we had to watch this movie, which is very interesting. So it just follows an in-school suspension day for 4 high school teenagers, and it just shows that there's more to a person than what you would think. This movie is actually very funny and entertaining too, no matter if you're watching it now or if you were watching it in the 80s. Number 10 is the movie Accepted. This movie was pretty popular in the early 2000s, and it stars Justin Long. He plays a character named Bartleby, and Bartleby does not get accepted to college, and his parents are going to be very disappointed. So instead of just telling them that he didn't make it into college, he makes his own college, and everyone else who didn't get into a college or university goes to his university. It's a really funny movie, and it's definitely one that's not too complex to understand, but it has a pretty good plot. Number 11, Sleepless in Seattle, is a romantic movie that I think even the men who are watching this video will like. Again, it stars Tom Hanks, and it's all about a romance that happens because of a guy talking on a radio show. It's a really interesting plot, but I guarantee that even if you don't think you like romantic movies, you'll like this one. Number 12 is Flight, which was made in 2012 as well. If you want to watch a good movie, just watch any movie with Denzel Washington. He's such a good actor, and he always stars in great movies. This movie stars him, and he plays a pilot who's flying an airline, and it has a crash, and the whole movie goes back to this crash and how he saved people on board of the airplane. This movie is dramatic, and it has a lot of different twists in the story, so you have to pay very close attention when you're watching this movie. Number 13 on my list today is the movie 42. Jackie Robinson, who was the first African-American baseball player in the major league in the United States, he faced a lot of racial discrimination, and I always like to recommend movies, books, and shows that show what racial discrimination was like many years ago in the United States, because I think as a non-native English speaker, it's important to understand this if you want to speak with Americans and understand our culture a little bit more. Number 14 is Saving Private Ryan, and I did not realize I had so many Tom Hanks movies on this list, but he's such a good actor, and this movie is actually one of my husband's favorites, so you can take the recommendation from him. It's a World War II movie, and it's about American soldiers who their mission is to find one person in World War II and bring him back home safely. I won't spoil the plot too much, but you'll like this movie if you typically like movies that are about wars, and especially World War II. No matter how many times I watch The Social Network, I just always think it's such an interesting movie. So that's why I'm recommending it to you as number 15 on this list. The Social Network is based on the story of Mark Zuckerberg creating Facebook and just how brutal he was with his friends and what a brutal guy he is. And he's so smart, but it's just a really interesting biographical movie. If you haven't already seen The Social Network, definitely check that one out. Number 16 on my list is Forrest Gump. If you want to watch a movie that will teach you a lot about American history, definitely check out Forrest Gump. It's kind of funny as well, and it's another Tom Hanks movie. Like I said, I didn't realize how many good movies he is in, especially on this list. And it just talks about this man who grew up and lived through many different historical events. So it teaches you history, and it's a long movie, and it's very emotional as well. If you like action movies, number 17 is a must-watch. Transformers, starring Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox. This is the original Transformers movie. There's so much action in it. It's directed by Michael Bay. He's a director that's known for creating these movies with tons of explosions and tons of effects. And of course, it's based on the children's toys, the cartoon Transformers. But this movie is actually pretty funny, and the dialogue's pretty funny as well. If you're looking to watch another Spider-Man movie, make sure to check out Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie is so good. It's about Miles Morales. It's the new Spider-Man. And even though this movie is a cartoon, it's definitely made for adults. And people really like this movie, including myself. So check out this one because there's a new Spider-Verse movie as well. Number 19 is Shutter Island. So this movie stars Leonardo DiCaprio, again, another very strong leading actor. And he has to go to Shutter Island to try to find someone that he's looking for as a U.S. Marshal. He's looking for someone who committed a crime. And this movie is very dark, very twisted, and it has a lot of what we call jump scares. If you don't know what a jump scare is, it's when something pops out or happens suddenly, or it's suddenly very loud, and you jump in your seat because it scares you. So if you like scary movies, it's not too scary, but I would recommend this one. The last movie on this list is Uncut Gems, and this is an Adam Sandler movie, but it's not a typical Adam Sandler movie where it's, kind of a dumb comedy. It's a little bit more serious. There is some funny parts, but it's a crime thriller of a movie. This man in New York City, he's a jeweler, which means he sells jewelry, and he places some really risky bets in order to pay off his debt. It's a really interesting movie, again, with some twists in it that you won't expect. I'm going to leave links to all of the movies mentioned in this video below. Make sure to go check out any of these movies that you think you would be interested in because, again, watching movies is such a great way to practice your English listening, to pick up new vocabulary, and just to learn more about American culture if you're interested in living in the United States. Make sure to check out my video about 20 books that I would recommend to English learners because reading is just as important as watching movies, if not more. I'll see you guys in the next English lesson. Bye!